Shumai guys, welcome back to the Life to the Full podcast, the podcast that helps you make the most of your time here on Earth. My name's Stav Morse. I'm your host. It's my job to educate and inspire you to live a life that you are proud of. Today we are looking at how to make work optional in 2025. You guys seem to love the make more money, quit working, travel the world, those kind of podcasts. So if you've ever thought of making work optional, now's the time to listen up. There we go. I can't play basketball next week. I have to work. I can't take a month off to go travelling with my kids. I have to work. Of course I pay for childcare, because I have to work. Have you ever heard someone respond with, I have to go to work? It's usually in a lamenting tone. I see all the time people saying, I have to go to work. I can't do such and such because I have to go to work. And as a contrarian, this bothers me. My brain wants to automatically respond with, you don't have to go to work. On at least one level, you're choosing it. And if you could ask better questions, then you wouldn't have to go to work if you didn't want to. I usually try to ask, why do they have to go to work? And if I'm not looked at as if I'm a lunatic, it always comes down to one thing. Money. I've mentioned on the podcast before that about 50% of the people that I've asked whether they enjoy work said yes, and about 50% said no. I am aware that that is much more than the general population who enjoy their work. That percentage is much higher amongst my friends, my peer group. Most people, according to the surveys, do not enjoy what they do for work. So what I'm going to start to do now is ask, would you like work to be optional? If you've ever thought, I wish I didn't have to go to work, or I wish I didn't have to work so hard, or I can't wait to retire, then this is the episode for you. A friend of mine recently said to me, I know it's going against everything you believe in, but I think I'm thinking of getting a full-time job. Now I know I have a penchant for being self-employed or a business owner or location independent, basically being a master of your own time. But contrary to what some people believe, my friend included, I'm not completely against the idea of working a full-time job. And in fact, it is a great solution for some people. So let me start by saying why I believe work is a good thing. Then we'll come to how to make it optional if you want to. I am convinced that work is good for us. It is good for us to create and to build and to provide and to care for. It's beneficial for the soul to be useful and productive. Now, work can contribute to a sense of self, gives us dignity. It can make us valuable to society. Being needed is a source of meaning and pride. It's far better than the alternative, which is feeling lost and like you're not contributing. Before we go any further, I want to say that at this point I'm mainly talking about paid work that one generally does for someone else. Unpaid and unstructured work is an important topic to cover, but we'll have to leave that to another day. For many people, the idea that they can go to work for someone else, not have to worry about finding the work, not have to worry about getting paid, is a valuable idea, and one that people who promote the benefits of working for yourself, including myself at times, often overlook. I remember chatting to a guy who came to fix a leak in our toilet one time. He worked for Welsh Water, and once he's finished his work for the day around 3 or 4 p.m, he'd be completely free from his work responsibilities, thinking about work, until the next day. He could enjoy his evenings, do whatever he wanted, and he really valued that lifestyle. Once he was off the clock, he was off the clock, didn't have to worry. He got paid a decent wage, and he just liked to enjoy the rest of his time. Fair enough. But if it's your desire to one day make work optional, where you can take time off whenever you want, work the hours that you decide, work for or with whoever you want, you're free to go travelling or fishing or go for a workout in the middle of the day, then I'd encourage you to listen and pay attention to what I have to share over the next little while. There are 2 key concepts that I want you not only to understand, but to deeply contend with until you ingrain the ideas into your minds. The first is financial independence. The second, and more important, is uncoupling your income from your time. Let's do a quick recap of financial independence. Financial independence is essentially when you have enough money coming in from investments so that you can cover all of your living costs, and at the extreme end, all you want to do in your life so that you don't have to work at all. You can then call yourself financially independent, and then you can retire early, as the FIRE acronym goes. I had decided early on in my teaching career that this wasn't something I wanted to still be doing when I was 70 years old. At the end of my 2nd or 3rd year of teaching, a couple of my colleagues had retirement parties, having been at the same school for 37 years. I knew that wasn't what I wanted, and so I had to have a plan to change things up. That plan, whilst I didn't know what it was something that was brewing in my mind, so that when I started discovering financial independence, I thought, yes, that's what I want to do. Now, the first time I came across this idea of financial independence, I was mind blown. The idea of not having to go to work and being able to rely on income from my investments was very appealing. The idea that you could buy stuff that paid you money instead of spending all your money on consumption items was a real red pill moment. I came across this idea of having my investments pay for my lifestyle in 2 ways. One way was by dividend investing. For those of you unfamiliar with dividend investing, lots of big companies will pay out part of their profits to shareholders, and that's called a dividend. Companies like Coca-Cola, Johnson & Johnson will pay you if you own their shares. So all you've got to do is buy shares in dividend-paying companies. Once you've saved up and bought enough shares in dividend-paying companies, valued at 25 times your required income, you can consider yourself financially independent, because the dividend payments will pay for your required lifestyle. The second common way of becoming financially independent is to build up a portfolio of rental properties. If you have fixed costs every month of £3,000, if you can buy 6 properties which will cash flow £500 a month, hey presto, you are financially independent and you don't have to work anymore. The biggest problem with this is that it takes a lot of time and a lot of money. Becoming financially independent isn't a binary thing. It's not a specific number in investments. But as a rough rule of thumb, saving up and investing 25 times your annual expenses is what a lot of people would traditionally call financially independent. So if you spend £50,000 a year, then you're financially independent if you have 1.25 million in investments. If you earn 60k and save 10k, which is about a 16% saving rate, it'll take you 41 years to reach that target goal of 1.25 million. It doesn't matter how big or small these numbers seem, it's the 16% savings rate that's important. If you can increase your savings rate to 20%, you're down to 37 years of work. Get to a 50% saving rate, and you'll be done with work completely in 16.6 years. This level of saving and this length of time is what made me start to question whether full financial independence was something I should be pursuing. Is it achievable? What is the point of the goal? Instead of getting to the point where I could stop working completely, which would never happen if I was a teacher, was there a way to make work optional that was quicker, easier, and that would make life more enjoyable in the meantime? Don't get me wrong, financial independence is a fantastic goal to have, because even if you don't get to retire early, even if you don't ever reach full financial independence, every step you take on the journey gives you more freedom, more options, and more opportunities. If you haven't listened to episode 15 yet, go back and listen to that one. It's entitled Use Money to Buy Freedom. People often ask me what they should do with their money, and my answer is almost always buy freedom. Freedom from your job, freedom from your country, time freedom. It's the best use of money other than generosity. And that was the realization for me. How can I make work optional? Buy freedom, and even if I couldn't make work optional forever, I could do it for a time. Potentially when the kids are young. I did go part-time when my first daughter came along, and that was my first foray into work being optional. I wasn't completely financially independent, but because I was living on less than 80% of my income, I could give up a day of work and it wouldn't affect my day-to-day life. Once I tasted optional work, I was keen to see how far I could push it. If there are any teachers listening thinking I could never make work optional, believe me, it is possible. I've done it. And when you think at the time, there's no flexibility here, I just have to be a teacher or not be a teacher. What I've done is I quit, and then because there are such shortages of Welsh-speaking maths teachers in my area, I can pretty much name the job that I want. And I'm being offered work, just saying, yeah, if you want to come in just for part-time, just for one day, just for 2 mornings, just teach the sixth form, you can have whatever you want. And that is not something that you get if you just stay in the system. So it is possible. Ask me about it on Instagram. Or Threads. I'm enjoying that at the moment. Anyway, the second, and I would argue better way of making work optional, is to uncouple your income from the time you're working. This is arguably a harder thing to get your head around than financial independence. We are conditioned from a young age that if you turn up and do your work, you'll get paid. But if you don't turn up, you won't get paid. The idea of building an asset or creating value that is not directly tied to your time is not something many of us are taught. And it's not something many of us think about naturally. So here's my public service announcement. If you want to make work optional, you need to figure out a way of getting paid that doesn't involve you working for an hourly wage or even a salary. Sales is the closest thing I can think of to start us on the journey of thinking about how to disentangle our income from our time. Let's just say you work for an insurance company selling insurance. You've got to go into the office 9 till 5, and you get paid a certain amount, but you also get paid commission on every sale you make. If you get better at selling insurance, you could increase your wages without increasing the time at work. If you continue to work 9 till 5 every day, and you go from selling 1 insurance policy to 2 insurance policies a day, you've doubled your commission. You can start applying this to your work. If you get better at your job and provide more value, in theory you can command more money. If you track your performance when it comes to asking for a raise, you can say, well, I've managed to produce this for the company, so I think I'm worth this. Obviously, this doesn't work if you're a teacher or a doctor, but there are creative ways of thinking about things. With this approach, you still have to put in the time, but your value isn't so much directly linked to your time. If you simply get better at your job and provide better value, you can command more money. Recently, my boiler broke down, and I had a couple of people come and have a look, and they said, "Oh, sorry mate, not sure what's going on." And by the third time I'd asked someone to come round, I was willing to pay much more because I knew it wasn't a simple DIY fix. It required much more specialist knowledge. The chap eventually fixed it and spent about 35 minutes and said, "That'll be £450, please." I wasn't paying for his time, I was paying for his expertise in getting the job done. If you get to this level of knowledge, skill, and income-producing prowess, you don't have to work all the time. You will have to work some of the time, but this level of income will provide an incredible level of flexibility and optionality. The next level to this, and this is what I'm working on, is to put in effort and work to creating something you can sell over and over. I feel uncomfortable saying some trite things like, start a YouTube channel, write a book, sell a PDF, or build a business, because these are things I haven't done, or at least not made a financial success of yet. But clearly they do work for some people. Once I've put in the effort to create a book, I can sell the same book over and over without more of my time being used. On that note, I do have a course. If you are a disillusioned teacher who feels stuck in their job, there'll be a link in the description to a Quit Teaching, Start Living course that I have created. And if you want to chat about that, I'd love to hear what you've got to say. If I go to the effort of writing, recording and producing a great podcast, the more people that listen, the greater potential of income generation. It takes the same amount of effort if 30 people are listening or if 3,000 people are listening. It's time to be creative, whatever your work is. How can you start to uncouple your income from your time? This is one of the most important questions that you can answer to make work optional. If you're young, you can start your working life with these concepts at the front of your mind, and you can make decisions accordingly. Start thinking about your savings rate. If, as you might hope, you start earning more as you get older, think about how happy future you would feel if you put a bit more into your investments rather than spending all your higher earnings. If you get £1,000 raise, you can put an extra £500 into investments and still increase the quality of your life by £500. Starting young on your path towards financial independence means that you're able to make work optional way sooner than any of your peers. While they are spending £4,000 a year on takeaways and drinking and new clothes every week, you will be designing your life so that in your 30s and 40s you can be more flexible in your work patterns, and they'll be the ones thinking, I can't do that, I have to work. And you'll be the one able to expand your lifestyle, not as an automatic habit, but as a conscious, well thought out, well designed plan. You'll be able to do things that your peers won't be able to because you chose a different path early on. Start thinking about how you can uncouple your income from your time. Ask yourself important questions. What can you build? What can you create that people will want to buy? How can you earn money that is not connected to you physically doing the work and spending your time on it. What if you're not young? What if the choices you've made so far in life have put you in a position where you feel more trapped than when you were in your 20s? You've got a job with responsibilities, a mortgage, a family, people who rely on you. What then? Is it possible to make work optional then? Yes. Yes, it is. But it will involve more creativity, even more questioning of convention, and more determination. You will likely have to make more incremental changes that move you towards making work optional, seeing as it wasn't designed in from the beginning. There is a chap that I follow on YouTube called Stupid is the Norm, and it documents this chap's journey to financial independence from scratch on minimum wage, starting in his 50s. His plan is to work overtime and to use all his overtime money and more to buy buy-to-let properties. The thing that sets him apart, from what I can ascertain, is his attitude towards being willing to work hard for a period of time and his willingness to defy conventional living wisdom. Stupid is the norm. Don't be stupid. Don't be normal, is his tagline. Instead of writing yourself off and throwing in the towel, start asking better questions like, how can I afford this? How do I make work optional? How can I get my housing costs down to zero? Who can help me? And that's an important one. Remember my point from earlier. Even saving £1,000 can give you a sense of empowerment, a taste of freedom, slightly more options than you had before. Saving £2,000 may mean that you could take a month off work if you wanted to. Getting a lodger means that your mortgage payments are mostly covered. Agreeing to share childcare with a friend can cut chunks out of your monthly budget. You could rent your house out, get a remote job, and go and travel the world. You could cut down on costs when you're travelling by house sitting or pet sitting. You just need to go and explore the options. Here are some weird ways that people have become millionaires, or at least earned a substantial amount of money, by using their creativity and doing something different. Gary Dahl in the 70s marketed ordinary rocks as pet rocks. With clever packaging and instruction manual for their care, the novelty product became a sensation and made him millions in a short time. So Gary Dahl sold pet rocks. Alex Tew was a guy that created a fairly useless website. He invented the $1 million homepage. In 2005, he sold individual pixels on a web page for $1 each. Businesses and individuals purchased them for advertising, helping him achieve his goal of $1 million. A chap called Kyle MacDonald started out with a single red paperclip, and his game was trading the paperclip for something better off. Trading it for a pen, then trading it for something else, then trading it up to something else. And over 14 trades, he ended up with a house. He gained fame and wealth on that journey. I do believe that house is now a museum. Check that story out. Scott Rosenbaum founded rentafriend.com, where people can hire platonic companions to hang out with them. That quirky concept turned into a multi-million-dollar business. Ben Lashes manages viral internet sensations like Grumpy Cat, turning memes into book deals, product lines, and even movies. There are some weird and wonderful ways to get creative, to make work optional. Now, I can't prescribe any particular path because everyone who's listening has a different set of circumstances. I can try to get you to think more creatively and encourage you to ask better questions and to go and explore the world beyond what you've learned so far. If you want some help and guidance in lifestyle design, reach out to me on Instagram and I'll book you in for a call. Being stuck in a job that is rubbish, that you hate, is no fun. It is no good. And it is my desire that you not be in that situation. If you want to make work optional, you should go for it. I'm not in favour of completely quitting work and not doing anything. I am in favour of always working. I am in favour of not doing work that I don't enjoy and doing work and providing value and being there for people in a way that I do enjoy. And I wish the same for you. I would rather design a life that I don't want to retire from. One where work is optional, but I'm so in love with the work that I can't stop myself. A little bit like why I'm doing this podcast. I don't want to quit working completely and do nothing. I want to contribute to society. I want to encourage people. I want to make people's lives better in small ways and big ways. I used to be a full-time teacher, then I went to part-time teacher, and then because of the investment decisions that I'd made in my early career, even though they weren't the most optimal financial decisions, they've given me the ability to now only work 15 to 20 hours a week, and the rest of the time I can spend on my own pursuits. Am I fully financially independent? Or do I have enough passive income to fully fund my lifestyle? No, but I am further down the line of designing my ideal life than I would have been had I made different financial decisions early on. I want you to enjoy life. I want you to lead a fulfilling life. I want you to feel like you are making the world a better place by doing the work that you do. I would love you to make work optional so that you can work on things that inspire you, that light you up, that leave the world better than before. Your life could look radically different in 5 to 10 years' time if you wanted it to, and if you design it so that it is. So I'll leave you with one question. How are you going to make work optional in 2025? What plan are you going to make? Okay, that was 2. Let's just go with, what are you going to do differently in 2025 that will result in work being optional one day? What are you going to do in 2025 differently that will result in work being optional one day? Thank you for your precious attention. I am honoured that more and more people are listening. I'm glad to have served you today. I'd love to hear from you. What are you going to do to make work optional? Head over to Instagram, Life to the Full Podcast, and also on Instagram threads. I'm recording some interviews for the mental health series coming up, so stay tuned for that. Until next time, peace out.